everybody, welcome. Do me a favor, I'm so glad you're here a little bit early. Thank you for that, because we're going to have a packed house, and that's always so exciting. So if you can do me a favor, first of all, can you type, I can hear you in the chat box if you can hear me okay? I'd appreciate that a ton. Because you never know with this technology stuff if it's doing its thing or not. Oh, thank you so much, Amy. I appreciate that a ton. And also, you should see on your screen my PowerPoints, and it should say I'm Susie Nelson and blah, blah, blah with my picture. So if you can confirm that. Hi, Erica. So excited you're on here tonight. So if you can confirm that, I would appreciate that. Hearing yes, super. And are you seeing my screen? Is it saying, are you seeing my picture? And it says it's me, and today we're going to talk about bookings. Perfect. Thank you so much. Now, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody, as we're waiting for others to log in, why don't you just post where you're from and what company you're with? That's always helpful for people. So share that, and that way, who knows, I've had people connect up with prospects on, not that you should be prospecting on my webinars, but I've had people make connections that turned into great business stuff. So you never know. So go ahead and post where you're from and what company you're affiliated with. Maple Grove. I'm from Minnesota originally. So Maple Grove and Usborne Books, that's awesome. Erica, I know at New Jersey, and that's awesome. And 31 Gifts, cool. Maple Grove, I grew up in South St. Paul. OKC, Oklahoma. I have not heard of Senegence. What is Senegence? I have not heard of that company. Illinois with Usborne Books and more. Great, Mindy. Glad you're on the webinar. Feel free to share what company you're with and where you're from while we're waiting for the 10 o'clock mark to get started, and while other people are logging in. Grew up in Minnetonka. Very cool. My aunt and uncle used to live on the lake. So I spent lots of family get-togethers on boats on Lake Minnetonka. It's an awesome lake. So glad you're on. All Day Makeup. That's, well, cool. How long has Senegence been around, Terry? I always love it when I hear of new companies, because there's new ones that pop up all the time. So. And Lisa, so excited. I saw both you and Renee are on, and one of your consultants was on earlier, on the earlier webinar, so I'm glad you're here, Lisa. 10 years, really? That's always amazing. See, there's always new stuff out there. So congrats, and thank you for being here tonight, Terry. It's still a couple minutes before time to start. I want to thank everybody who filled out the survey questionnaire. That information is always so helpful, so thank you very, very much for filling it out. I am very confident that the information I will be covering tonight is going to cover some of this for you, so I think you'll get some extremely good content out of tonight's webinar. So I'm so glad you took the time to be here tonight. Thank you. I had to, I'm always sucking on cough drops so I don't lose my voice. A couple, oh gosh, now it's probably been a year ago, I saw Billy Joel in concert, and it was a phenomenal concert, of course. But between songs, he kept spraying stuff down his throat. And I thought, oh, I wonder what that is. And then I was at Whole Foods and saw that they had this throat spray stuff, because when I talk a lot, I lose my voice really fast. So. Okay, well, listen, we have just another minute or so. I know we'll give people a couple minutes to get in. So while we're waiting for more people to log in, Do you have any burning questions that I can help you with that you didn't put on your survey? Because this is all about bookings. Did you see that I named this National Book Parties Month? I made the proclamation. I think I should contact, I don't know, the governor or the president or somebody. So I crack myself up sometimes. Okay. All right, again, we're going to give them just another 30 seconds to get logged in. If you just joined us, feel free to post in the chat room where you're from and what company you're with. Yeah, I know. I'm a little goofy sometimes. But hey, girls just got to have fun. There you go. I will wait until the clock strikes 10:01, and then I'm going to dive in because I have so much great information to share with you. So if you haven't done so already, I would highly recommend, number one, that you grab a paper and pencil because you'll want to take some notes. I would recommend, number two, that you close yourself out of Facebook and out of your emails and all that stuff that can be a distraction because I'm going to go pretty fast. And chances are you might miss something, and you don't want to miss it because it's loaded with great information. All right, so we are going to get started. I want to welcome all of you here tonight. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy weekend to invest an hour with me and this important information that can literally transform your business. So I really want to thank you for being here. I'm Susie Nelson. I know some of you are brand new students on the webinar tonight, so welcome to all of you. Tonight we're going to talk about bookings. I'm going to teach you the easy way to get bookings, okay? Now, what's important to know is that booking parties is the most important skill to be successful in your business. I mean, it is the most important thing you can learn. In fact, when I first launched my home party business, now this is a long time ago, I've been in the business now for 25 years, I had very little coaching or training. I was the first consultant in my company in my entire state, so there wasn't a sales meeting close by or anything like that, and the company was in its first year. Of course, at that point, we didn't have these wonderful online tools and things that we can use now with our organizations, right? And my sponsor quit the business just a few days after I started. So I had very little training. And I struggled so much to get my bookings. I mean, I was so frustrated. I mean, I had moved to Southwest Minnesota for my engineering job, and I didn't know a lot of people. And so the other thing was I was a manager in my engineering position. So the people that worked for me, I couldn't really ethically be talking to them about booking parties. In fact, they kept loving the outfits I was wearing because I sold clothes, and they would be kind of asking and begging for information, and I had to be really careful because I could not in any way damage my manager, employee relationship. So also, if anybody who is feeling sorry for themselves because some of their friends or relatives didn't book parties, you need to know my own mother never booked a party. Now, she said, you can use the house, you can, I'll make all the food and have everything ready for you. And she said, and I will attend. But she said, I want to make it really clear to everybody that I'm not the hostess, because she said she didn't want to start getting a bunch of invitations to the other home parties that the other neighborhood ladies would be hosting. So my own mother really never did a party for me. And out of all of my really good friends, only one ever hosted a party. So I didn't have all that kind of warm, cozy support. My biggest problem is that when I did manage to book a party, okay, I didn't know how to book parties at my parties. So my business was pretty short-lived, right? I'd work hard, I'd figure out a way and meet someone and work at it and finally get a party booked. But at those parties, I wasn't booking parties. In fact, I would actually ask people, they'd come to the order table and they loved our product. And so they'd come to the order table and I'd take their orders. And then I would say, oh, would you like to book a party? And they'd say, no. And I'd say, oh, okay, thank you. I know we have a couple people from Minnesota on tonight, and we're known as Minnesota nice. It's kind of a saying. And I would feel so rejected. And then, you know, the next few people who'd come to the order table, I didn't even ask because I was so fearful of that rejection, right? I didn't like the people telling me no. And I didn't know what to do with the no's, right? So I just said, oh, okay, thank you. Silly me, right? So I desperately wanted to have control of my life, and I desperately wanted to get out of my engineering job. I had changed jobs. I was back in Minnesota. My boss was just a complete idiot, and I really was despising my job. And I knew that I could, you know, my home party business could help me make that happen. It could help me quit that job. It could give me the freedom I wanted, but I couldn't make that happen if I couldn't figure out how to book parties. So I was pretty darn passionate. I see, you know, Amy said she gives up too easily. And yes, we're going to give you some great tips. In fact, you know, this is just kind of the nuts and bolts, right? That if you get 0 bookings at your parties, your business is essentially dying, right? It means you're going to struggle and have to work hard to try to dig up a hostess someplace. If you get 1 booking at every one of your parties, then your business is simply sustaining, right? You're just, you know, replacing 1 for 1. I mean, that's nice, that's okay, but your business isn't really growing. When you start getting 2 or 3 or 4 or more parties at your parties, now your business starts to grow rapidly. Pretty soon, your biggest problem will be, what do I do with all these bookings? Because I don't have room on my calendar. And you will be amazed at how quickly you can make that happen. So since I was struggling along and I had this really strong desire to build my business, I became passionate about mastering what I would call the most important skill in the business, and that's learning to book parties. And by the way, I want to stress, booking parties is a skill. Anybody can learn it, okay? And I like to say it's like learning to ride a bike. And what I mean by that is that when you first start to learn how to ride a bike, most people probably started on a trike, right? And then they went from the trike to a bike with training wheels. And then, you know, they went to, you know, maybe taking 1 training wheel off or starting to take them off. But anyway, you were wobbly at first, right? But once you mastered it, even if you haven't ridden a bike for 10 years, you could go jump on a bike and you could zoom off down the street without even thinking about it. That's exactly where you can get your booking skills at, when you really focus and when you really learn. Now, I wanted this so desperately. And since I didn't have all those different support systems in place or anything, any trainers or anything like that, I took action, and I just, you know, I was, you know, when they say, when there's a will, there's a way, I did everything I could to master this skill. So I studied the training, what little training we did have for my company. You know, I did read that part of the manual. And then I actually joined Tupperware. Now, I'm not in any way recommending any of you go out and join another company, okay? But in my case, this was at the time a really helpful solution because, again, there weren't sales meetings for my company in my town. There were only, I was like consultant number 157 or something crazy. I was the only one in the state. And my manager was back in the Twin Cities at the time. I was in South Dakota. So she was 5 hours away from me. So I couldn't go to her sales meetings unless I took 2 days of vacation. And so there was a Tupperware distributorship. And in those days, they literally had people who had distributorships around the country. And so I joined Tupperware so I could attend her every other week meetings. And I learned an incredible amount from the woman named Linda who owned the distributorship. I did go out and sell some Tupperware because I felt that was certainly something I should do since I was attending their meetings, and I love Tupperware. In fact, I sold a lot of it. But so, my purpose really was, though, to learn how to book parties. I also invested in dozens of training programs, and these weren't, there weren't that many home party trainers at the time, so I literally went after all the, like Tom Hopkins and, oh gosh, Brian Tracy, and I literally have an entire library full of training courses on sales. I also invested $1,500 in a Dale Carnegie course. Drove into downtown Minneapolis for I think 10 or 12 weeks, something like that. That was an awesome experience. I also experimented. I made my own business my little science experiment, and I tried different things to see what would work. And I also attended parties with consultants from other companies. And I really sat back and I watched, what's the audience? How are they reacting when she does these different things? And is she getting bookings? And how is she asking? And all that kind of stuff. So I really dug in to master this skill. I invested hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars. And I went from struggling to even put one booking on my calendar to consistently booking 2, 3, even 4 or more parties at my parties. So that's why I say it's the easy way to book parties. And because I started meeting so many new customers and hostesses, I started connecting with lots of prospects, and my team started growing. As I built my team, I knew I had to do a really great job of teaching them what I had worked so hard to learn, and that was booking skills, right? That's how I built one of the top organizations in my former home party company. And literally, we had sales that exceeded $1 million per year, most years. In fact, one year we even exceeded $2 million. And I want to explain when I say that. In my company, we weren't a generations plan. So when I say we did $1 million in sales, that was simply from what most companies would call their first generation. So in some companies it's Gen 0, and some companies it's Gen 1. But basically it was the people I sponsored and so on, not including anybody who had become a manager or their people. So it was really like a Gen 0. Okay, so we did $1 million in sales. And I'm going to tell you, most of the time my organization size, because I promoted so many managers, most of the time my organization averaged about 65 to 70 people, because again, I kept promoting people out and away they'd go. And so, we really did some tremendous sales with that size group. Once I personally mastered my booking skills and learned how to teach my team members booking skills, my organization started to grow exponentially. I kissed my engineering job goodbye. Oh, that was such a fun day. It's a side note, but I got to tell you, my friends in the business decided that they were going to take me out for lunch and that I wasn't going to go back to work. And my bonehead boss, he was just, oh my goodness, I could tell you stories. But I had to give a 30-day notice, and he had ignored me for 30 days. And about 10 o'clock in the morning, he came and said, oh, we should have a little sit down, kind of an exit interview. And I said, well, good luck. I'm leaving at 11 for lunch and I'm not coming back. He looked a little shocked. Anyway, so 1 year later, my income from my home party business exceeded 6 figures. So the first year I replaced my engineering income. That was about 50 grand at the time. And 1 year later, my income from my home party business exceeded 6 figures. So if you fast forward to today, I've literally taught thousands of consultants how to get bookings the easy way. And that's the focus of today's training. This training is for you if you've worn out your warm market, meaning your friends and family, if the way you're booking parties right now isn't working for you, meaning you struggle to book even one party at your parties, if you know that mastering booking skills is the way to get your business growing, but it's just not happening. If you're stuck in what I call the hostess roller coaster, and what I mean by that is that you have just a small group of hostesses and you keep booking those same people over and over and over. That's what I call the hostess roller coaster, and that means you're not meeting lots of new prospects, right? And this training's for you if you're passionate about building a productive team, but you're concerned that if you sponsor any of your hostesses, it will probably leave your calendar empty. We're going to solve all that. In fact, when you implement what you're going to learn in this training, you will easily start booking 2, 3, or even 4 more bookings at every party. And because you will have more bookings than space on your calendar, like I said, that's a really good problem. You will feel confident about approaching the 2 or 3 hot prospects that are at every party, because you will no longer be concerned that sponsoring will leave gaping holes in your calendar. And when you implement what you learn in this training, it'll be clear that you can easily get your business on track to earn a promotion, because both you and the team members you sponsor and train will have more than enough bookings to meet any monthly sales requirement. So today we're going to cover 4 topics, okay? The first one is, let me pause for just a second. Susie, I saw you have a note that your screen is fuzzy. If you have other windows open, you might want to close that out, because this runs through Google Hangouts. So it's something with the connection on your end, okay? Thanks. All right, so today we're going to cover four separate areas. The first is push versus pursue versus attract, and a big hint here, attract is the fun and easy way to book parties. And the second thing is I'm going to go through some of just the basics, important concepts that can really, really impact your business if you think about them and apply them. The third thing is I'm going to share my special 3 to 8 system and how just 3 new bookings can completely transform or turn around any consultant's business. And fourth, I'm going to talk about how to use different booking strategies for different scenarios. Because literally, if you're doing a one-on-one, or how you get bookings from vendor events, or how you do fundraisers. I'm going to cover one in particular tonight in this hour we have together, because there's lots of different ways to scenarios. I will teach you as much as I can in the next hour, and then I promise to show you how you can get access to some additional training. So let's dig in, okay? So let's first talk about push, pursue, or attract. Now push, all right, so really push when you at your parties. I'm focusing on getting bookings at your parties. Push is when you play booking games, and I make no bones about it. I am not a fan of booking games, okay? First of all, it's like extreme manipulation, right? I mean, kind of like dangling the treat for the puppy, and he's almost going to be punished if he gets the treat. But it's just very manipulative. What people who really promote using booking games don't share with you is that often consultants who use booking games also have high postponements or cancellations, right? Because the person had not really bought in and made a decision. Some hostesses book through games, not all of them, but some of them book through games won't do a great job because they haven't mentally bought into the idea. And here's what's most important, because remember, I shared that not only did I go through that whole journey of really learning and mastering booking skills, I also figured out how to teach those skills to my consultants. And booking games, although you can teach people how to do them at a party, you can't teach them how that skill can apply in other scenarios, like meeting with a prospect from a networking group, or working with a group that wants to do fundraisers, or vendor events, right? So it's really not a skill you can apply outside of your party. All right, so pursue. So how many of you have ever walked into a furniture store? And when you walk into the furniture store, often you have immediately a salesperson who comes up and greets you, correct? How many of you? I'm just kind of curious. Have you ever had that happen? Type it into the chat box. Have you had it happen? All right, I'm not seeing anybody type it in, but I'm assuming you've experienced. Okay, Amy, thank you. She got to the keys, yay. Susie said yes. Lisa says every time. So if you think about it, all right, these people are on a lead rotation, right? So they know that, you know, if it's their turn, the next people who walk through the door is their lead. And if they don't do anything or make anything happen from that lead, they go back to the bottom of the list and have to wait. You know, who knows if there's 8 salespeople on you know, staff that day, they have to wait for 8 more people for their next time for the rotation, right? And they're paid in commissions. So they start following you around the store. Hi, what can I help you find today? You know, how do you like this couch? What can I, is there something I can do for you? And in some respects, they are on you like glue. And often they even, you almost start to feel like they must think you're trying to steal a couch or something because they follow you so closely. And I mean, you can't blame them, right? You're their lead. But the problem is that that's pursuing. Okay, and so when people do that at their parties, you know, they sometimes they pick a couple people who they think would be great hostesses and really kind of almost follow them around. They make those assumptive statements, the, you know, Rosemary, wink, wink, nod, nod. When you have your party, I even had. I had a roommate a million years ago, and her mother was in a home party business. She decided we were going to have a big party for her. And she started by saying, I am expecting every single one of you to book a party today. And I was like, oh my goodness. So it can often irritate people. Some people will go on the defense, right? So that's pursue. So attract is the easy way to book parties. It means that you understand that booking parties is merely another product that you're selling. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. So attract incorporates a sales process. It means that you simply explain the benefits of booking parties throughout your presentation, and then you ask the right way. That's a sales presentation. It focuses on the prospective hostess and her needs. That's really important. Circle that in your notes. It focuses on her needs, okay? She feels excited about her upcoming party because she's the one who has made the decision, okay? Now, this is important too. When you're in attraction mode, it doesn't rely on hostess specials of the month. And I really want to comment on this for a minute. Now, certainly, if you're with a company that gives you these awesome hostess specials of the month, that's an incredible gift and an incredible tool. Okay, so you're very fortunate if that's the case. When I was building my business for the first 18 years, we had no such thing. Our hostess plan was really simple. Okay, the hostess had to get at least 3 guests in attendance. And then for if there were bookings at the party, if there was 2 or more bookings, she got extra credit. Now, don't interpret that to think that that's what caused my bookings, because I didn't use that. That was not my game plan. Okay, I didn't want to be pushing people to book parties so poor hostess Rosemary could get her skirt. Okay, so that was not my gig. So I learned how to book parties by truly presenting the benefits. And there's all kinds of different benefits for people to book parties, okay? And it's not just a hostess special. In fact, if you lead too much with hostess specials, again, you're not truly mastering the skill. So I would love to challenge you to really think about any hostess specials of the month as though your company could take them away tomorrow, okay? And really learn to master your booking skills without being dependent on them, because then your business will never skip a beat, okay? Now, when you learn attraction skills, it can also help you in other situations. It can help you become better at sponsoring consultants, right? It can actually help you beyond your home party business. I have several friends in the home party business who pursued real estate careers because they learned such great sales skills, including how to book parties, all right? So this is a skill that will help you in many, many ways. All right, so first I just want to cover some basics, okay? These are basic business concepts, but I want you to really think about them, and I want you to review them in your notes a couple different times and really consider how these impact your business, because it really can make a huge difference, okay? So the first one is lather, rinse, repeat. Now, I always have to remind people that I come from an engineering background, okay? I'm a chemical engineer. So I see the world in systems and processes. I mean, literally everything to me, I think there's got to be a system that can make this easier. And everything to me is, how can this be viewed as a process, okay? Because that way it gives me a chance to improve it, okay? I don't know how many of you have ever seen the old I Love Lucy, where she's on the candy, she and Ethel are in the candy making factory, and it's the assembly line. Well, to me, that's how everything works. It's a process, and some of them can go really smoothly. And so lather, rinse, repeat to me is my description of the process for this business. All right, so it's very simple. So it starts, number one, that you network and connect with people. Now, maybe they're your warm market, maybe they're people you meet at the grocery store, maybe they're people you meet at a vendor event. But you network and you connect with people, okay? Then, once you have made this connection, get them excited about your products, right? Because that's step two. Now you want them excited. You want them to have a big wish list. Because if they don't like your products, why would they book a party? Okay? So number three, once they're very excited about your products, now you can explain the hostess benefits and ask them to book a party, and ask them the right way. So next, now that they've booked a party, I want you to think about your hostess as your business partner for the evening. And as a business partner, you need to coach her really, really well, right? Because if somebody was a new employee at your job, you wouldn't just go, well, there's your desk, have at it, right? You would give them training. Well, that's the same thing you need to do when your partner, your hostess, is your business partner for the evening. So you're going to coach her really well. Then number 5 in this formula is to do a really effective presentation. My definition of that is it's a presentation that, number 1, is going to produce some really high sales, right? Because your hostess rewards are typically based on the sales. And so you owe it to that business partner to have some really high sales so she gets super credits. The second part of an effective presentation, it's going to result in you getting 2, 3, 4, even more bookings, right? And the third part of that presentation is, well, you know what? There's 2 or 3 hot prospects at every party, and that leads me into part 6, right? Because when you do the presentation well, you will find those prospects. You're going to schedule connections with them and go through the information about the business. Some of them are going to decide to start and join your team. So when they start, you sponsor those team members and train them and coach them really well, teach them how to book parties, and then repeat. Okay, now I know for some people you might go, well, duh, okay, but people mess this up in our business all the time. I use this as my kind of my formula. If somebody's struggling, I can just like go right through this and start asking questions and figure out exactly where they have holes in their process. So here's a great example. Let's say that someone has started with a new company and they're excited, so they call up their friend who knows nothing about the company, the products, or whatever, and they say, oh, I started with this new company. Do you want to book a party for me? Okay, now if you look at this formula, that means they have skipped over network and connect, even though they might know the person, right? You still want to, you still want to nurture the relationship. The person knows nothing about their product, so they skipped right past it. And they really didn't even explain the hostess benefits in that scenario. They just skipped right to, hey, want to book a party? And so then they wonder, how come nobody wants to book? It's because they didn't pay attention to this formula. Even if you're with companies like Tupperware and Mary Kay and the really well-known companies, even then you still have to get people excited about your products. So definitely you want to pay careful attention to lather, rinse, repeat. All right, so the next concept, and when I really, really thought about this and really thought how this applied to my business in many, many different respects, okay, this was huge for my business, okay? So it is what I call the 6 steps to accepting an idea. And this is that this happens not just when you're asked about booking a party or thinking about booking a party. This is true for somebody who you're thinking might want to take a closer look at the information about your business. This is true if you're thinking about selling your house or buying a new car, or even smaller decisions like going to a movie and dinner on tomorrow night. So when we're presented with a new idea, our brain has to go through these steps. So the first step is that it's in total rejection. Second step, partial rejection. Third step is partial acceptance. The fourth step is total acceptance. The fifth step is partial assimilation, and the sixth step is total assimilation. So just to give you some ideas, right? So the way that we take people through these steps when it comes to thinking about booking a party is with what we call booking bids, right? It's those simple statements that explain the different benefits to that person of hosting a party. Okay, so when somebody, when I've worked with, and again, I've observed millions of parties over the years, and when someone tells me they can't book parties, every single time, either they're not putting out enough bids, right, because they're not taking people through these steps mentally, or they're not asking in the right way. And many times they're just not even asking everybody. So it's that simple to turn this around for people. So as an example, if I'm having a consultant who tells me that she has a whole bunch of people who always are telling her, well, I'd like to book a party, but I'm going to have to check with my friends for a date. So if you think of this formula, they're in partial assimilation, right? So really, we have to get that person doing more bids so she takes them completely through this whole process. It's very simple. The other thing, when I really started to think about this, is that's when I started to not in any way get offended or feel rejected or hurt if somebody told me they didn't want to book, because I just realized I haven't helped their brain go through that process, right? So that we can fix, okay? It was no longer about rejection. This is also true. Now, just to take a side note, because I know we've got some good leaders on the webinar here tonight. This is also true if you are working with your group implementing either like a new rule or regulation that your company has put into effect, or if you're coming out with a new product line. And I mean, you have to understand your team's got to go through this, and you have to be patient and keep promoting it until they get through this process. All right, it's very important, and it impacts our business in more ways than people really give it credit for. All right, so when I said booking is selling, now I have a bag sitting here in my office. It's a bag I love, and so if I was going to sell this bag, I would be telling you, okay, here's this bag. First, I love the size because I travel a lot for business, and I can carry everything I need in this bag as my carry-on on the plane. It's got this wonderful zipper pocket where I can put my laptop my MacBook, and it's got padding, so my laptop is protected. Has this wonderful inside pocket in the corner where I can tuck my cell phone, so that way when I hear it, when if my phone goes off, I don't have to try to dig into my bag. I know exactly where it is. It's got this little strap where I can hook my keys, so I don't have to dig for my keys at night if I'm going to my car in the dark. And it's got this wonderful faux leather, and it's stain resistant. Okay, so if I was selling the bag, of course I would even tell if it came in more colors and all that kind of stuff, right? Excuse me, right? And so I would be telling them not just the features, but the benefits. So when I said, it's got this pocket for the cell phone so you can find it easily. It's got this padded zipper so that it protects my laptop. So I was telling you both features and benefits. Well, that's exactly what you need to do when you're working on your process for selling people about booking parties. So you want to tell them the benefits of why it's so good for them. And it's not just about free product. Okay, that's really important. There's lots of benefits beyond free and discounted products and specials. All right, so booking parties is selling. It becomes really easy when you use this kind of sales process. And it becomes really easy to teach when you use this kind of sales process. All right, so that's some basic concepts about booking parties. Now, I developed my special, I call it my 3 into 8 system, okay? And how this came about is that 5 different times I moved to different states where I didn't know a soul, okay? Truth be told, I moved for guys I was dating. Do not ever do that. Even be leery if you're married to them, okay? But I moved to states where these guys were, and so needless to say, I was moving every time and had to start my business from scratch, okay? And so I had my organization, and I got to certainly keep my organization, but I had to start my personal business from scratch in places where I didn't know a soul, okay? So I got really good at it, and I'm a numbers girl, so I actually tracked my numbers, so I had it down to a system. And here's what it came down to. All right, so all I had to do, and this is really important for you to pay attention to, okay? Because if you need to give your business a restart, or if you've got some team members who you think could really be doing well if you work closely with them and help them restart, okay? All I had to do was get 3 good bookings on my calendar. So I'd go out, go to some networking events. I would possibly join a women's philanthropic type group. I would look for some groups to do fundraisers with. I would book a vendor event, okay? But I wanted to get it going quickly, so I would get out there and meet people. All I had to do was get 3 good bookings because, and here's the most important part, okay, is that from those 3 bookings, I would do a really good job of booking parties from those parties, and I would put 8 new bookings on my calendar. Okay, so that's why I call it my 3 to 8 system. All right, and from those 8 bookings, I regularly then would put 13 new bookings on my calendar. And I want to point out, I actually would put more bookings than just 13, but I was sponsoring new consultants. And so because of that, I was giving their bookings, people that booked from their connections to them so that they could take on their warm connections themselves, right? So 13 from those 8. So that's how fast you can turn somebody's business around or launch somebody, okay? In fact, I used to focus on 8 guests per party. Now, some people would think that's crazy. I hear people say, oh, you're going to invite 40 people. No, you don't. Not if you do it right. Okay, that's a whole nother course. That's hostess coaching. But hang on, I got a sip of water. Okay, so And I have to say, Carly was laughing because she said she did that too. I'm guessing you moved for a guy. You poor thing. No, I hope it worked out well for you. I got to see lots of cool places around the country, but never again. Okay, so my focus was 8 guests per party. And the reason is, and this is really important, I'm a numbers girl, remember that. But I sold clothes. And we always, once we did our presentation, we would take our guests back to the hostess's bedroom and help them with try-ons and help them plan out their wardrobes, okay? And so what would happen if you got many more than 8 at a party, the sales per customer would drop significantly because we couldn't, as one person, easily help all those people easily, right? And people come, they want to try stuff on and place their orders and go, right? So so if I had more than 8, my sales per customer dropped so significantly that, I just wanted to focus on those 8 and give them ultimate service. So I would coach my hostesses very specifically, the 10 people that I wanted her to focus on. And we'd usually end up with a great group of 8, right? Because there's always 1 or 2 that have a last minute reason that they can't come. So I want you to think about how many customers and business prospects that I brought into my business in 6 months from 3 bookings, okay? Because here's how it would go with that, focusing on 8, right? So from the 3 parties, 8 guests per party, I would connect with 24 potential customers. From those 8 parties, right, I told you I booked 8 from the 3, I would connect with another 64 potential customers. And then from the 13 parties, it was another 104 potential customers. So in 6 months, because we worked on seasons, I would end up just from those 3 parties getting 192 potential customers just from 3 parties. I mean, that's the power of our business. So the lesson here is that you can relaunch your business or one of your non-productive team members' businesses by simply focusing to get 3 bookings with new hostesses and doing a great job booking parties from those parties. All right, so number 4. I first learned the fundamentals, but then I learned how to apply those fundamentals in different situations. So when I say the fundamentals, the whole sales process, and I'll explain more about that a little later, okay? So fundamentals are things like the mindset and like my lather, rinse, repeat, and the psychology and some of the tools you can use, and of course the whole booking sales process. I also, this is so interesting, because in a little bit I'm going to tell you about some exciting things with a product that I've developed. But I kept careful notes. So I have these amazing private coaching students. Okay, I love them dearly. I'm so proud of them, and I love working with them. And so as I would do my coaching for the last 2 years, I kept really careful notes about, they all became great at booking skills, because that's the first place we start, is giving their own business a tune-up. But then pretty soon we would have discussions about, they were going to do a vendor event, or they were going to do, go to some networking event, and how could they get bookings from those activities. So I kept really careful notes, and even though the fundamental booking skills are the same, the way that you apply them in various situations can have a dramatic impact on your results. Here was the list I came up with of all the different scenarios of when I got questions about how to get bookings at different things. So booking new hostesses, launch parties, and so on. And I'm going to talk more about this list in just a little bit. But I want to focus right now on talking about vendor events. So just to check in with you guys, because I get worried when it gets a little quiet in the chat. How many of you are planning to participate in some sort of vendor event here this fall before Christmas? How many of you are planning to participate in some sort of vendor event? Just curious. So put a little note in the chat box if that's what you're going to do. Let's see. Oh, Lisa, good. Oh, good. I have one at the end of October. Super. Susie, possibly. Awesome. All right. So technically, there are actually about 7 different ways you can get bookings at vendor events. Um, so really 7 different ways, and people really don't take advantage of all the different ways. In fact, I love it because when I walk in to set up for a vendor event, I'm just like looking around going, oh my goodness, this is so exciting, because there's seriously prospects all around you all the time, and it's just so cool. So first, we're just going to focus on talking about how you can work your booth to get bookings, okay? So if you focus on push, right? Again, that's not my recommendation, but that's the person who really drags you into their booth to take a look at their products, right? They're just in your face about it. Pursue, when you see those people who are standing in the aisles, shoving drawing slips on clipboards in people's faces, right? That's pursue. Well, I'd rather attract. So thinking about my lather, rinse, repeat formula, right? Because I really want you to connect the dots here. So the first stage is to connect with people. The more they get to know and like you, the more open they're going to be when you ask them to book. So people will say, well, so how do you do that? It's like, you know what? You relax and start conversations. So let's say somebody walks by and they've dyed their hair blue and purple. Okay? Well, now you can say, oh my goodness, I love your hair. What inspired you to choose those colors? And, you know, how long did it take? And do you get a lot of comments from people, and blah, 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 right? So now you can start to engage and connect. Let's say that they're wearing a sweatshirt that says they're from Vermont, okay? It's like, wow, you know, do you live there? Why are you here for this booth? And, you know, what's your favorite thing to do in Vermont? I mean, so now you can just have these connections. So you got to relax about your product stuff, and you relax about the booking stuff, right? First, get to know people, because everybody has an interesting story. In fact, I said this the other day on a coaching call and said, this is my new quote. You can't rush the relationship, right? In fact, and you know, I've been in really crowded women's expos, and I don't care if there's, you know, another 50 people walking by while I'm talking to somebody, because I'd rather come away from that event with 25 to 30 fantastic connections than drawing slips from 500 people, okay? Because I don't know if you've ever followed up on those slips, but that's a super huge frustrating experience. So I'm going to get connected with them. Then I'm going to ask them to come into my booth. I'm going to design it so that they can come in out of the traffic if it's a busy event. Come in and get excited about my products. Now, doing this, I'm going to be asking for their opinion and their feedback, and ask about their favorites, right? I'm not going to be shoving things in their face. I'll show them some things. I'll ask for permission if I can show them a couple of my favorites and tell them the features and benefits. But my goal is to get them telling me what they think. So I want to give you a big tip here. Again, I would take careful notes on this, because people never handle this right at booths. I learned this really from taking that Dale Carnegie course I told you about. But I practiced this and mastered it when I worked booths. Okay, and that is if you're working with somebody, you've connected, and they look at you and they point to something and say, how much is this? Okay. So I'm going to use that question really well. So I'm going to smile and I'm going to say, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you like that. That's that's a really popular piece in our collection, or whatever. And then I'm going to say, would you mind if I point out a couple things about this bag or this necklace or whatever it is, right, that you're selling? I'm going to then go through the features and benefits like you heard me do a little while ago when I talked about my bag that's sitting here. And then I'm going to say, now this bag retails for $89. And then I'm going to look them right in the eye and I'm going to say, how does that sound to you? Now, what I learned by doing this technique for years is that about 70% of the people are going to tell you they think it's extremely reasonably priced. Okay? In fact, if you don't think that's the case, you got to do some work on your own feelings about the prices of your products, okay? Because 70% of the people told me they thought it was reasonably priced. And then I'm going to say, I am so glad you shared that with me, and thank you so much. I totally agree with you. In fact, I've got some cool news to share. How would you feel if you could get this bag either for free or at a huge discount by taking advantage of our Hostess Rewards? Would you mind if I took a minute and explained that program? So now I'm going to move them into talking about Hostess Rewards, and I'm going to then ask them to book a party. Okay, and I use a special tool at Boots. I call it my big booking, my secret booking weapon. It's a big calendar scenario. We don't have time to go into it here tonight, but anyway, that's my closing tool. You know, I'm not trying to make that tool do the work for me, so it works like a charm. The other 30% who tell me, well, I think that's a little bit out of my budget, or I think it's a little expensive, then, of course, you guys have already guessed it. I can say, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing that with me. I truly appreciate that. You know what? That's the reason that a lot of our hostesses book parties, because we've got this amazing Hostess Rewards program that you could get this bag for, you know, absolutely free or at a huge discount just by working with me as a hostess. Would you mind if I took a second and explained our Hostess Rewards? And then I'm going to ask them to book a party. Okay, does that all make sense? Tell me what you think. Does it, put some notes in the chat room here. Tell me what you think. Because this works seriously awesome. Okay, so I explained the Hostess Rewards. I'm going to ask them to book. And I just said learn how to handle the price question, turn questions about the business into a booking. Oh, let me talk about that for 2 seconds. I didn't do that earlier tonight. If I have someone who comes up to me at a booth and they ask me about the business, right? Okay, so if you think back to my lather, rinse, repeat formula, I'm not going to click back in the slides because it'll take me forever to find it. But if you think about that formula, right? That's like asking to know more about the business is down at step 6. Okay, it's way down the line. So I am still going to be showing them the products, asking them questions, and I am going to certainly set an appointment to sit down with them away from, you know, a couple days after the booth, or hopefully the day after the booth, depending on how many days it is and all that kind of in our schedules, right? So I'm going to schedule an appointment to get together with them. But what I'm going to say is that really the first step in this process is for this person to book a party. Okay, now it's not because I'm trying to squeeze a party out of her before she actually would sign as a consultant. It's because number one, you know, I'm going to share the information about the business, and if she doesn't decide to get started, well, I have still capitalized on networking, right? I've still met 8 to 10 of her connections, so I'm still going to grow my business. The second thing is that if she's never seen a party and she's kind of still not sure after we meet in person, I'm going to easily say, you know what? I know what's going on here is that you haven't had a chance to experience a party. So I'm so glad that you have scheduled this party with me coming up on such and such a date. Okay, that way she can get the opinion of her friends and family and really get their feedback and evaluate if this is a business for her. The third thing is that if she does decide to start when we connect, now we've already got her launch party on the calendar. It's reserved for her, right? So I'm going to really still work on booking a party. And if the person isn't willing to book a party, well, you know what? I'll still meet with them, and that's great. But that kind of tells me that maybe they're not that hot of a prospect, right? Because we're a party business, okay? All right, so When I mastered booking parties right at the booth, my life changed forever. Okay. I stopped handing out catalogs or business cards. Write that in big letters in your notes. And I stopped doing any kind of drawings whatsoever because I knew, number one, that following up on drawing slips was the most frustrating experience in the world. Number two, a lot of people checked boxes on slips because they thought it would help them win the prize. So I just got rid of all that. And it made my life so much easier. And I came home from that vendor event with booked business on my calendar. So I don't waste hours trying to connect, and I don't go through that frustration. So I attract bookings at vendor events by using my formulas. Now, I don't have time to go in depth in these other parts of vendor events like I'm going to share here, but there literally are all these different ways to get bookings at vendor events. So number one, connecting with other vendors. And I don't mean you go and stuff your brochures on their table or anything of the sort. Simply make a great connection and follow up to and get together to share ideas and afterwards, right? And I'm not saying you should try to trade parties. I only think you should book with them if you love their products and want to get their credits. And I hope that if they book with you, it's for the same reason. The second thing is meeting staff people. And what I mean is the people who take care of the facility or who are setting up for the event. They often want to know more about your products. And I've booked parties often with the people who are working behind the scenes. Number three is doing a presentation on stage and driving the audience to your booth with a limited time special. You can literally create a stampede to your booth doing an on-stage presentation if you work it the right way. Number four, using info slips. Okay, so when people come up and I literally write on I put like 3 catalogs around my booth, and they all have in huge letters on the front, do not take. Certainly once in a while somebody rips it off and I have more that I sneak out from under the table, but I'm not going to hand out catalogs at my booth. So if somebody comes up and asks me for a catalog, I explain, you know what, I don't want you to have to, make your bag heavier, and I really want you to have, this to stick out from all the other stuff you're collecting here today. So I pull out an information slip, okay? And this is the same thing as what you would have on a drawing slip. It's just that it says information slip across the top. And I take down their name, address, and contact information, and I assure them that I will pop a catalog in the mail to them the next business day, okay? So I'm in the driver's seat. I'm collecting their information. I also, when I do have those conversations, one of the questions I do ask is if they belong to any organizations that do fundraisers. Because when I do a fundraiser, it is all about working working with the people in that group so that they book parties, all right? So again, I explain that in my new course, how to do that. I also, as I said, use my special booking calendar. That's a closing technique that creates urgency. And number 7, it just kills me that more people don't actually use this, but number 7 is driving your own customers and hostesses to look you up at an event, right? So if you're doing something where they give you, like, I always want to be at events where they charge to get in. It just, to me, gives me better demographics. But I will send out, free or discounted coupons for attending. I let my hostesses and customers know what booth I'm in. Usually the booths have numbers. And I let them know that if they come and look me up at the booth, that I have a special gift for them. Something little, something that costs a couple bucks, but I want it sitting there looking pretty. And I want to, have them come to my booth and give them a big hug and thank them for being there. And of course, I'm going to make sure that they're on my calendar for another party, right? All right. So that was just some tips on booking parties when you're working your booth at a vendor event. Okay, so that's just one type of booking strategy. Here's that whole entire list. So earlier, I promised that I would explain how you could get access to more of this training. And I am so excited. If I hadn't made the conscious decision to master my booking skills and invest both time and money to do that, I would never have been able to build one of the top organizations in my company or my six-figure income. So to truly master your booking skills, so you have the confidence that you can keep your calendar full and easily book 2, 3, even 4 or more parties at every party, and be able to teach these same skills to your team so that you can build your organization, really, here's what you need to master, okay? First, the fundamentals. And I'm so excited. I've developed this new course. I call it How to Book Parties Any Time of Year, no matter where you live. And I mean, literally, it's 2 years worth of work put into this. But so the first is the fundamentals. So we cover the mindset. That's so important. If you don't think you're going to book parties, you might as well forget it, because you're not going to. As Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you won't. But I go into a lot of the different mindset portions of it. Of course, I'm going to teach you more about my lather, rinse, repeat formula. I'm going to teach you how to understand hostess rewards and how to use those benefits to get bookings. And by that, I don't mean that you're just trying to lead with your hostess specials. I'm going to teach you how to learn how to ask the right way, okay? Because there's a right way and a wrong way, and saying, do you want to book a party is the wrong way, okay? I'm going to take you through the typical, what I call speed bumps, okay? I see lots of people who call this objections. I call it speed bumps because I think objection sounds too strong. And I'm going to take you through how to handle each one, okay? And then also there's some really cool visual tools you can use during your presentations that also help you book parties. Once you have those fundamental skills down and understand those things really well, next you need to learn how to apply those skills for all those different possible situations. So in my course, I dive deep into all the fundamentals, and then I literally teach you every possible booking scenario. So, and I have to try something here. Let me see here. Load. Displayed this. Okay, so I'm putting up the information about this course. So there's a bunch of bonuses I'm going to tell you about in just a minute, but we will be covering in this course every single scenario that I have coached my students about. So obviously booking new hostesses, how to continually bring those new hostesses into your business, getting bookings at launch parties. Okay, and that's so important. When I do a launch party with a new consultant, I want them to come away from that with 4, 5, 6 new bookings on their calendar, so they launch their business and feel so good about their decision to get started. Getting bookings from your parties, I've talked about that tonight, and we'll go in depth in how to do that, especially how to put those bids into your presentations. Booking back your hostess from every party, there's some great techniques for that. Booking parties with non-attendees at the parties. There's tons of bookings that consultants miss out on because they don't reach out to the people who were committed to coming but couldn't attend for whatever reason. Then bookings from referrals. When you take great care of your hostesses, you will find that they will want to refer you constantly. It's just like, ask any realtor, they'll tell you that their very best leads come from referrals from past customers. The same is true in our business, referrals from your hostesses. Getting bookings at what I call preview presentations. In fact, a couple of my private coaching students, I had been working with them for a while and encouraging them to do group preview presentations. They launched this here about 6 weeks ago, and they're getting phenomenal results. I mean, it's helping with training, it's helping with sponsoring. So I'll be teaching you how to get bookings at those kinds of presentations. Bookings from one-on-ones. So many times people just don't work it properly. Again, they don't do the lather, rinse, repeat. So I'll teach you how to do that effectively. Bookings from customer care calls. Again, just because somebody said no at the party doesn't mean they don't ever want to book a party. So when you do those important follow-up calls with customers, you'll be amazed at how many bookings you can get. Bookings from catalog parties. That's so many people just don't even work a catalog party to get bookings. So I'm going to teach you how to do that. Bookings from pop-up parties or open house type events where you don't really have an opportunity to do a presentation. I'll teach you how to work those effectively. Of course, the 7 different ways to get parties booked from vendor events. Bookings from fundraisers. Technically, there's about 4 different ways you can work a fundraiser. My favorite way is to simply book parties with members of the organization, and I'll teach you how to do that. Bookings from networking events. So many times people forget that when other people attend networking events, okay, that they are actually there with an agenda too, right? They want to expand their business. So you've got to consider that when you do follow up with those people. Bookings from virtual parties. My company has now, for the last 6 months, been doing in-depth studies on the best way to do virtual parties, and I will be giving you tips on how to not only how to get bookings from those parties, but also to have great sales from virtual parties. And finally, filling a last-minute postponement. I've had people postpone, and I've filled 2 days out, and I have put a new booking on the calendar. And so I will teach you how to fill a last-minute postponement. Of course, that's only when there's a family member who's ill or something tragic. All right, so I also will be teaching people my advanced techniques in this course. And those are handling objections during your presentation. That's a really great way to, again, have people just come ready to pick the date by the time they get to your order table. Using word choices and how to make minor changes in the words you say to get major results. Okay, that works really well. Thinking strategically for powerful follow-up. That is really important to really, anytime you do an event, to think how you're going to connect with those people and do it the right way so you don't rush the relationship. Booking parties with inactive consultants. There's a huge number of parties. If you have a consultant who, for whatever reason, decides not to continue in the business, first I'm going to talk to that person about being a hostess. Just because she didn't maintain the business on the consultant side doesn't mean she can't benefit from being a hostess, right? But I also want to make sure I connect with her customers and hostesses so that they're continued to be serviced. Booking parties by being a guest speaker. So often there's opportunities to go to networking events and be a speaker, but often people don't figure out how to really turn that into bookings at the end of that presentation. So I'll be teaching you tips for that. Tapping into hostesses from consultants from other companies. This is what I call multi-vendor events. Multi-consultant, blah, 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 multi-distributor events. Okay, when you connect with, say, 5, 6 other consultants from different businesses than yours and put together a special event, that's just a tremendous way to tap into their hostesses. And then in the advanced section is also how to have a weekly meeting with your boss. And by the way, that's you, okay? And then the last thing, remember when I told you that when you master your booking attraction techniques, your biggest problem will be what to do with all the bookings that you can't put on your calendar? Well, I have a 3-party rule, and I teach you what that is, and that involves giving away parties to deserving consultants. All right, finally, I end this course with my words of advice to easily transition your business into a booking magnet. Now, I have to share Helene, one of my private coaching students, who's just amazing. She and one of her offspring directors, they did a vendor event, and the vendor event had very low attendance, okay? But we had talked through my strategies for how to work this. They came home with 5 bookings on their calendars, even though there was very low attendance and the other vendors didn't do well. Okay, so she did a super job. Trisha DeVoe, she was a private coaching student. She was really making her business difficult with booking games, and she learned my booking fundamentals, started filling her calendar. This was at the middle of January that she started in private coaching. She started connecting in with lots of prospects, built her team. She completed the DIQ, which means she earned her qualification to promote to director in her business, and kept right on going, and by the end of April had earned her company's leadership trip. So, that's how fast you can impact your business when you work it the right way. Dondria Bryant. Dondria came into my private coaching program about 1.5 years ago. She's just super amazing. I just love this woman. When we first started in private coaching, she was being totally dependent on her company leads. And so we really turned that around. She started really working on getting bookings at her parties. These days, her problem is that she doesn't have room for all the bookings on her calendar. In the past, once she started meeting with all these prospects at her parties, now what started happening, she's become a sponsoring magnet. In fact, in the last 12 months, from June to June, she was recognized in her Upline Leaders organization, which has probably 800 people in it, as the #1 sponsor. She had sponsored 18 consultants in that time frame. So that's how you can really impact your business. That happened because she mastered her booking skills and, of course, then her sponsoring skills. So when you learn my booking attraction skills and strategies, you will shift into attraction mode and never have to struggle to book parties again. Like I said, it took me several years of investing lots of training, lots of money and time in training to figure this out. And I want to save you potentially years of struggling. Most of all, you will confidently build your team and your organization, knowing that you are giving them the best coaching, training, and support to be super successful. So what's included in this course? Well, it's an online course, so you can literally dig in almost immediately. We will have to get you set up in the online system tomorrow because we have to just get your login and everything for you. But we want to get you in there quickly because I can't think of a single good reason for you to build your business slowly, okay? There's videos. We've also posted the audio, so we've got PDFs of the slides. There's worksheets. So it really, any way that you prefer to learn, we've got it in there for you, okay? And you'll also get access to my personal scripts and checklists, okay? That is such a key for building your business, to have that kind of consistency. So I've got that all in there for you. So you'll no longer feel stressed about your business. You will ask for bookings with ease because your prospective hostesses will be excited to book parties. You don't have to twist arms, and you'll start to have lots of fun. Normally, this training, my new training course, is $297, an investment that you can easily recover with profits from just 1 or 2 new bookings. But today, for being on this webinar, you can invest in this powerful course for just $97. What will it give you back in time, money, health, peace of mind, fulfillment, and so on? What will it be like to eliminate the stress from your parties and have fun connecting with your guests? How will you feel when a guest walks up to your order table and says, okay, get your calendar out? How great will you feel when you can teach these skills to your team members and help them take control of their lives? Earlier, I explained that each time I moved, I could launch my new business with 3 good bookings. That's powerful. So when you invest in this course before the end of this webinar, I also have technically 6 special bonuses for you. Bonus number 1 is access to my Big Booking Blitz course. Now, this is something I've done with groups of consultants from lots of different companies, and it's always really effective. They always, usually the consultants who participate during just the Booking Blitz put at least 3 bookings on their calendar. Susan Milliron, who is one of my private coaching students, she did the Booking Blitz training herself, and then they were going to be doing a company-wide Booking Blitz. She's with Ruby Ribbon, which is a company that sells shapewear. And so she took my scripts from the Booking Blitz. She, updated them so that it had the words, like they call them. I don't remember the name of their consultant. You know how some companies have different names for things. So she just simply updated it with that information. Excuse me. And when they did the company-wide blitz, she had 7 of her team members participate. They put 29 new bookings on the calendar. They did this back in February. And so the cool part was that compared to other teams in her company that were participating, they were one of the smallest groups, and they put the most bookings on their calendar. So it really works well. Bonus number 2 is my training on how to do an effective presentation. Every time I help consultants give their presentations a makeover and really take them down a clear path, they have immediate results. I mean, they always increase sales immediately. They always increase bookings, and they always have, start spotting those 2 to 3 hot prospects and connecting. So that training is a value of $47. Bonus number 3, I'm launching what I'm calling my Consistency Club, because it's really a lot more fun to hang out with people where you can share your ideas and be held accountable for your activities. So you get a membership in my new Consistency Club. Bonus number 4 is a directory listing on either, we have 2 websites that really work on attracting prospects for the business. That's Start a Home Party Business or Blast Away Your Debt. You get a 1-year listing. That's a $97 value. Now, bonus number 5, I was so excited when I created this for this course. We only created 100 sets, and a bunch of them got claimed in the previous webinar. I literally put together this card set, and these are business card size, and this gives you all of the checklists and bullet points that can just get things you can look at if you're in line, in the carpool line, and you've got 10 minutes to make a couple calls. I've got bullet points for those calls. I have common booking speed bumps. You can be thinking through how you would handle those scenarios. I mean, literally, this is just great business reminders on these card sets, and they're really helpful. Bonus number 6, and this one is very exciting. I'm doing a special webinar tomorrow night. It's at 9 p.m. Eastern, and it is called How to Give Your Business a Fast Makeover and Create Exponential Growth. Okay? Literally, this is going to teach you what you need to do to really, in the next 10 to 12 weeks, get your business on track so you can position it for that same kind of exponential growth that I did. So I'll be inviting everyone who invests in this course to that special webinar tomorrow night. So you get all of this just for $97 if you take action now. I posted the information here. You should be able to click that link. If that's not working for you, you can go to howtobookparties.com. I will type this into the chat room. Where did my little mouse go? There you are. So if you want to go to, if the link in the webinar isn't working for you, let me type this into the chat room, and then I'm going to tell you a couple more things and then open it up for questions. There it is. Okay. All right. So, all right. So I want to answer the 3 questions that I always get when people are asking more about whether or not they should invest in this program. So the first one is, I'm just getting started, so should I wait until I have more experience? And the answer is definitely no. Don't wait. And the reason is that then you start to get a bunch of bad habits, right? We don't want you to have bad booking habits. We want you to learn this skill and keep right on going. In fact, I've been working with these two special groups with two of my private coaching students, and they both have had new consultants come into their organizations in these special groups in the last month. Both of them have had people who started, who reached their qualification level, which in their company is $1,000. One of them already has sponsored her first person. And really the whole key is that we're just keeping them very focused and on track and not letting them get into those bad habits. So that's really important. The second thing is that how different is this training than what I could find in my back office, okay? Now, I know your companies give you some great training. You know, oftentimes it says how, you know, here's how you ask for bookings at parties, or sometimes they do include booking bids, but there really isn't anything that's this comprehensive where I have literally paid attention to every single different booking question that I got, and I have covered the information within this course. So I want you to understand that. Oh my gosh, we already have people joining the program. Welcome, Susan and Suzanne. So it's the Susie show tonight, right? Susan, Suzanne, and me. So welcome to the program. I'm so excited, and you'll get your information tomorrow morning for tomorrow night's webinar. All right, so the third question that comes up often, I just don't have the money. Now, I really want to say I totally understand if you're just getting your business launched and if things are tight, but this is really an investment that you can recover in less than your profits from just one party. And the reason you don't have money is because you don't know how to book parties, right? So we need to fix that. And so that's why you need to invest in yourself. And that's why you need to invest in this course now, because I want to empower you to change that circumstance quickly. All right, so that's the link. So go ahead, invest in the program. We'll get you set up in it within 24 hours. You'll get your link to tomorrow night's special webinar. Again, all of these bonuses expire literally within the next 10 to 15 minutes. So I want to now open it up for more questions. So who else has questions? I'm happy to answer anything. And again, welcome to those people who've already grabbed their seats. I'm excited for you. Who else has questions? I really want to stress the importance of tomorrow night's webinar because literally this is, I have used what I'm going to teach you tomorrow night to literally take consultants who were struggling, frustrated, couldn't sponsor productive people. We have turned their business around and gotten them growing and just doing phenomenal things, whether it's earning promotions, earning incentive trips, doubling, tripling the amount that they're earning in commissions. I mean, it literally is extremely powerful. So I do hope that that we can, see you in the webinar tomorrow night. Mendy has a question. Do we work the online course at our own pace? You know what? Thank you for asking that question because I forgot to explain something. So absolutely, the online course is there for you forever, okay? So you can dig in and work it at your own pace. But here's what's really important. I'm going to scroll back for a minute to that list of, where did it go? To the list of all those different scenarios that are covered in separate modules, okay? So say, for example, that you're getting ready to do a vendor event. Go into the course, just go into the module about booking parties at vendor events and give yourself that review and that tune-up, okay? Because it will just really help you to get better results. Same thing for all of those scenarios. If you're preparing to do a pop-up party someplace, go in and give yourself a quick review. That way you don't have to go through the entire course to find it, right? That's why I put them all in those separate modules. Great question. Thank you so much, Mindy. I really appreciate that. All right. And so anyway, any other questions that you have? All right. Well, listen, I want to thank you all so much for investing this time to be here tonight. I truly appreciate it. You're all amazing. Thank you so much. I wish you the very best for your success, and I hope I see you in the webinar tomorrow night. If you have any other questions, oh, Susie has a question. So these modules will be available even after you take the course. Oh, yes. So you will always have online access. We did it online, number one, so people can get into it faster. And number two, so we don't have to charge you a shipping charge. So this way it's there for you. You just will always have your online access to get in and review it as often as you need to. You're welcome, Lisa, and you're welcome, Amy. Thanks for being on here tonight. All right. So with that, the bonuses do expire in basically about 6 minutes. Again, thank you for being here, and have a terrific evening, everybody. Oh, thanks. Mendy says, thank you for the great tips and advice. You are welcome. And thank you, Susie. Welcome to the program. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Goodbye.